Thanks everybody. Thanks for joining. Welcome to EOTS session. Each one teach one. Like it's been many weeks now, and we are still continuing with the same process of sharing knowledge, which will help. I think each individual. It's already helping people to understand more on any concepts that we have missed or weren't able to attend or know. So yeah. On that note, first I'll give a brief intro. My name is Prashant Reddy, and I'm a delivery consultant at altokk. And you can see two links here. One is my LinkedIn, which I am active enough, and the other one is Twitter, where I don't post mostly on Salesforce. But yes, these are two platforms which I'm very active on. And coming to my experience, I have experience into IT in different domains like retail, audit, life sciences, and finally Salesforce as a technology change. And on-screen only motto. If you want to drive yourself, just love what you do. I think that will take you places. That's my only motto. I didn't want to mention too much on it. And coming to the session, today I'll be taking you through the case routing via Omni Channel. And why it is capacity based is there are two types. So one is based on capacity and the other one is based on skill. So a brief on this particular picture and why. Has anyone seen the movie Founder?
No.
Yeah, no? Okay. So yes and no, but yeah, I'll go through why this picture. First thing is, I want to get some feedback on why McDonald's became famous. Anyone?
Process.
Okay, and
I think customer service repeatability, consistency in what they do across their chain,
Service.
process, having a process.
correct.
Fast
Any
food.
other? Yeah.
McDonald's being, I would say.
Okay. If you guys have not watched it, I'll just give a brief picture. McDonald's had only two things in mind. One, being quick. The other one is segregating how it has to be done. Before McDonald's came in, all the processes were so different. Like they were a set of people who are doing everything. McDonald's came in with a different approach where it sectioned or you say compartments, right? So every person, the group of people skilled in certain area, and it moves from one section to another. That's how it approached delivery in terms of a customer coming to the store and getting a burger in like 2-3 minutes or 5 minutes. It was the quickest when McDonald's started. So that revolutionized the concept. And in the same way, Omnichannel does that in Salesforce. So that's the reason I gave that example because customer service is very important. And as part of Service Cloud, that is the most important offering Salesforce provides in terms of customer service. So if you have certain issues, customers should not wait until that gets resolved or reach out to people. So that was the main motto why Service Cloud started with this omni-channel concept where it does seamless automation. So same is the case with how McDonald's operates. It starts with cutting the loaf. It goes to the next section. People add cheese and all that, lettuce and all that. So it goes section by section, and finally the customer, just standing there, goes to the delivery point and he'll just take the burger. So in the same way, omni-channel is operating in such a way that a customer raises a case, it goes to the agent directly based on his skill set, his availability, the service agents, and that's how the entire concept of omni-channel operates. And coming to is this for you? I think it's an insightful session. Everyone should know of why we use omni-channel, and it's a one of the most integral parts of Service Cloud in terms of offering. And any enterprise levels, small scale, medium scale businesses, they do operate on this. And we also have a lot of projects which actually are implementing omni-channel. Currently, we have running projects which implement omni-channel. So I thought this was the right moment to pick up this topic in order to understand so that people can take it over and try to implement more by knowing the basic concept of omnichannel. Okay, today's agenda, three important steps. First thing is omnichannel. I've just given a brief. I'll just go through it again. And what is the entire chain of omnichannel? And the third one is how do we set it up at a basic level. There are more things to it in terms of setup, but I'll just drive or run you through how the basic setup is done. Okay, just give you an example. You can see the picture of how omnichannel operates. So it comes on various levels and it can handle every level of how the data is coming into Salesforce, be it emails or be it through chat, be it through voice calls, be it through cases, Omnichannel has the capability to route it to the right people, the right agents in terms of who has that skill set, who can actually solve that problem. So just to run through a brief, Omnichannel, why the name? Omni generally mentions it's known, like it's present, right? So it can do anything. That is the word from where it's defined. So that's how the name came. And why Omnichannel? I've already mentioned, like to handle customer service in a seamless way so that they don't run after people saying this guy is the point of contact for me who can handle this. So that is done automatically within the system. He raises a case, it gets resolved based on certain milestones or particular time frames in which it gets resolved. Okay, very important diagram of how omnichannel operates. The items of work, as mentioned, it can be coming through emails, it can be coming through the web, it can be coming through chat, it can be coming through voice, social network, and the objects which can actually handle the routing part is defined in terms of objects, and the basic ones which generally go through this implementation are case, chat, social blast, and calls. And the third section, if you see here, it's mostly on queues, where queues are really important in terms of channelizing of into which direction that particular case has to head to. Okay, so queues might have, based on skill set, a group of people or a person who can probably transfer it from one compartment to other. So can be used in any way. And once the queues are defined, based on certain availabilities of the agents, if they're busy, they will not accept the request. If they're available, they'll be going ahead and accepting the request based on their capacity or how it is defined in terms of their skill set. So once it goes through, just a brief one of how it operates. Is present is more like is available. Okay, so if he doesn't know, it will go back to the queue and it will get assigned to another person who has the capacity or the skill set. If he says a yes, it checks the capacity. Like if a person is only able to resolve 2 tickets per day and it is beyond his capacity, he can always decline and it will go back to the queue routing where it's again heads to a person who is part of that queue uh, based on certain priorities defined. And if he's accepted it, it will go into his online working section in Omnichannel. Okay, coming to the important part of the setup, this will take a while. I'll just run through the basic list to set it up. One, in order to enable an omni-channel, you got to go to the setting and enable the omni-channel. That's when it'll show up all these listings in terms of setup. So first one is the limits. It's more on how we do the routing. It's more on the routing limits. The second one is the omni-channel setting, which is more defining the capacity or the queue-based ones. The third one is presence of configuration. It is more like setting up the availability and defining the capacity. And then the decline reason, if in case you're not able to resolve it or you do not have the skill set to resolve it, you can always decline a case which comes into the queue with a particular reason. You can define those reasons. That is the setup. Presence statuses, it's more like showing in the queue when a ticket comes, whether you're available, you're not available. Every person or every user can always set it up based on this particular setting, whether to be available or not. If you're available, it gets routed to you. If you're not available, it goes to another person who is in the queue. Next is the routing configuration. It's more like defining which queue should this particular request head to. That is a basic and the most important setup as part of Omnichannel. And the service channel is more like a channel which is used like we saw examples of social media, chat, email, web. So you have to define a service channel for every offering in terms of object. So you got to define, if it is a chat, select chat as an object, define a service channel. So same is the case with the others. So this is important and is used in the routing configuration in order to set up where it has to head to. Any questions on these?
Yes, Prashant.
Yeah.
How does it recognize, like, persons, if there are 5 persons in the skill-based queue, how does it recognize, like, whom to send first? Like, priority-based, is it anything there?
Uh, can I come with the question, like 5 skill sets, is it?
No, 5 persons are there in one queue with a
Okay,
skill-based something,
correct.
like capacity-based you are telling
Mm,
it.
correct.
So how does it know that which person to send? Like, is there any priority that first person, this is the one I have to send the queue? Like in a queue, first person I have to send this.
Okay, so it
Route.
goes hand in hand. Skill set is defines your queue, right? So
Yeah.
the capacity defines how many can each person take. If say
Okay.
suppose you and me are there in part of that queue,
Okay.
I can handle a capacity of 2 tickets per day.
Okay.
You can handle 3 tickets per day.
Okay.
So if I already have 2 in my working session, that will not get allocated to me. It will route to you internally based on the capacity that has been set up for each user.
Oh, is there any setting to enable this, or will it automatically be handled?
Once you enable Omni Channel, you'll have these capacities defined, and these capacities can also be defined in your routing configuration.
Okay.
Okay, then I think we can go to the demo. Limits is more like your routing configuration limit. I've not set it up as such, but it is more on the routing side. How many you can configure. I think it's a big number because based on the enterprise level, there might be more queues, there might be more groups involved, right? So every skill set, sub skill set. So there's a limit for that. That is what is defined there in terms of limits. I'll just go through that setting as well. Okay, able to see the screen of org. So go to setup. Omnichannel is what you start with. Initially, if you do not enable anything, similar case with every other setting that is there in Salesforce, very similar. So you got to go to the settings to first enable all these options, and these come up only when you enable your omni channel. Then comes the second part, which is enabling your skill set or enabling based on capacity model. Okay? These are the most important ones, and the others are enable second routing. It is more like if the first priority of queue is not able to handle it, they define a secondary routing process. Like if they're not able to handle it in that queue, go to route to another priority type of setup for routing. So generally didn't use this, but at enterprise level, definitely it's been used. Okay, so enabling this will give you all these options. I'll click on save. Okay, I'll just run through each setup of how it is. Yeah, the first one is presence configuration. If you can see, Raji, you had a question, right? How do you define the capacity? This is how it is defined, and it says maximum amount of work that an agent can handle at a time. So he can have in his working session 5 tickets on the whole. Like he can accept, he cannot accept the 6th ticket unless the other 5 have been resolved. Unless one is pushed out, other one cannot be accepted. So that is how you set limits for each person.
Okay.
Okay, and if you're allowing agents to decline, you cannot automatically accept work requests. So it is like inversely proportional. Like if you decline, you'll have the capability to decline. So automatically those get assigned, or you can only automatically assign. That is one of the setup. And decline reason, this comes up if you select this, you got to select, give a reason here, which I'll be running through. Then a sound. So two things here. One, if you're going offline, or if there's a network break somewhere, discrepancy, it'll give a sound. So you can define your sound and or a custom sound. So when you're getting a ticket as well, it'll create a sound like to let the agent know that there's a ticket that is waiting in the queue. Okay, and since I've enabled this, it'll ask me what are the decline reasons that you have set up in your system, and what do you want us to display when you're doing a decline. Any questions on this setup? This is one of the most important, and any capacity of any person is always dependent on this particular setup. Moving to decline reasons, yeah, you define. So that setup actually pulls details from this particular setting where you can define your decline reasons. If you create a new one, it'll ask you what is the decline reason that you want to display. Say suppose if you see here, you can add this decline reason as well. Okay. So this is generally when you decline a case that is coming into the queue, and a person knows that it is in the queue, but he is not able to address it, the agent. Next important one is defining the statuses, like if you're available, if you're busy, where you cannot take up any cases. So Salesforce is set up in such a way that you can define the statuses based on certain options that Salesforce provides. So I'll just walk you through those options. Now, if you want to define something, say I'm only available on chat. You can always select online or busy. There are only two statuses on which it is defined, and you define the channel from where it is routed into your queue. So online basically says you're available, and busy says you cannot do that right now. In terms of a request, it has to wait. So as soon as you go online, that is when the case gets assigned into that queue, or you can see that a new case has come into the queue. Any questions on this? Okay, going to the support routing. Many setups. I'll just quickly go through the important ones. First one is setting the priority, like when it has to head. If you give it a priority as one, those are the first cases that get sent to the queue. Okay, and important thing to know here is these three settings. One is least active, one is most available, and one is external routing. Least active is more like agent who has very less number of tickets that he can actually work on. Okay, most available is, you can see here, routes to the agent with open capacity, like he's always available and he can accommodate more work. And external routing is more like sending it to a third party by integrating to a third party system. So very important setup, and only on the basis of this the routing happens. Raji, your question, this setup also helps in it to the right resource. Like it will not accommodate more tickets to someone, but it will always check if there's capacity available with another agent within a queue.
Okay.
Okay. Skill based routing, yes, you can define that as well, but as of now I'm just going through the capacity model. And units of capacity is more like how many tickets can each person or agent consume. Either you can give in terms of capacity. If you say 100% capacity, unless an agent does not complete that ticket, he cannot take up a new ticket. So both go in tandem. You can either define in terms of percentage or you can define in terms of capacity. Both mean the same, but yeah, one is like one ticket at a time. He cannot work on multiple at a time. He can accept, but he cannot work. Any questions on this, guys? So routing configuration, presence configuration are two important setups as part of Omni Channel in order for us for the routing to work. The last one is service channel. As I defined, like every particular medium from which a case is coming, you got to define a separate service channel. You cannot accommodate all four into a single service channel, because at any point in time you can select only one object. So if it's a case, it'll route every case that is defined or coming into the queue. Okay, or you can always go with a chat, and there are several options that you can go with in terms of selection for the service channels. As of now, I've seen like it's only used for chat, like that. So you have to create separate service channels. What do you mean by fixed? I am not sure on that. Haven't tried it, but I'll check and let you know. Okay. We know lead routing, we know case routing. So yeah, if chats are enabled, you can see even the chat routing that can happen. Clear on this? Any questions? Okay. So another important setup which definitely has to be done is these particular statuses are not always available unless these are set up in a profile for the user. Okay, so you may have 10 statuses, but you can always pull what are required. So definitely you have to set that up in the profile. Unless it is done, you'll not see any of these statuses. So I'll just show you that setting. Okay, if you go to system profile, there is something called service presence status access. So this is specially defined to have the statuses that you want to see as part of that profile. If I do an edit, I just added a status, so that is available here. So if you want to see that in the Omni Channel widget, you got to pull this to the right and add it to the profile. Only then the users who have that profile can see that particular status. Okay. As of now, I'll just add this. Okay. Any questions on this before I show you how it operates? Any question on all these sections? Okay, so Naresh was asking more on, can you use permission sets in order to define statuses? Like a set of users should be only seeing these statuses, a set of users should be only seeing these status, which I think is doable because it's linked to a profile. That was a question. Anybody else? Any other question? If not, I'll just show. So everyone is aware of how a widget is added, right? So there's an omni-channel widget that is available. You got to add it to the app in order to see it on the utility bar. So I've already done that. Okay, how this has come up, I'll just create a new case. So I have a queue called support queue. As of now, I'll just create a, I haven't created an automation where it directly goes. So I'll just change the owner to a queue, and you can see that particular ticket showing up in the omni-channel view. This here, the new case has been added to the queue. And since you're available, you'll be able to accept it or decline it. And if you go offline, you'll not see the list unless you come online again. So whatever may be the case that you're creating, you won't be able to see it unless you go online again. So if you go online, it will again show you the entire list of what is associated to it. And if you remember, if you accept, it goes into my work. And if you decline it, it will ask you for a reason. So we just added another reason. So it is showing both of them. Okay. You select and you decline it. Now, if you want to accept it, it will go into your my work schedule and it will take you to that particular case. And if you see, it will show up in your my work where you have to actively work on it and it will be assigned on your name. So this is a brief of how the capacity model works in an omni-channel. Pretty easy setup, but 2 or 3 steps which are very important: the presence configuration, the routing configuration, and adding it to the profile. These 3 are very important in order to define the basic capacity model for an omni-channel routing. So I'll do probably a decline as well. We added another status, so it's showing up here. Once you decline it, it's off your list. So if there are any more cases in the queue, it will show up again in the system, like under new. That was the demo. Questions? Just give another minute. If there are any questions, let me know. A quick summary. First thing of what we learned today. One is what is an omni-channel? Why is it used? Second part is the entire process of how an omni-channel works. And the third one is how do we set up a basic capacity-based model for an omni-channel case routing system? If you have any questions, if I have not answered them, probably I'll get back on that because this is like a new concept for me as well. So yeah, any other details or anything, just post me offline. I'll go check and I'll let you know. Yeah, that's all I have. And as we always say, never stop learning. So every concept is a new concept, is a new learning. So yeah. On that note, probably I'm done with the session. In case of any questions, do shoot an email so that I can answer them.